As hosts, we want that perfect brunch spread of savory and sweet options, and we can definitely make a brunch to impress without having to give up those slow mornings. So with a little preparation, you can sleep in soundly and know that you'll only be 20 minutes away from a beautiful brunch. To start with something sweet, we're going to be making a banana maple parfait. Making your own granola is surprisingly simple. To a bowl, you add your oats and pecans, and then to help everything stick together, I make 1 flax egg using a tablespoon of flax seeds and an equal amount of water. And then to help it get crispy and caramelized, you add 1/3 cup of maple syrup and 1/4 cup of tahini paste. The last thing I add is a little bit of sea salt, and then I mixed it all together until it was nice and combined. After all that mixing, give it a little taste and season it to your preference. I wanted it just a bit sweeter, so I just drizzled on a bit extra maple syrup. And then I spread it out onto a baking sheet and let it cook for about 10 minutes before flipping it, trying to maintain any of those nice big chunks of granola. After another 10 minutes or so, it should come out nice and golden and brown and crispy. And then it can be stored in an airtight jar for whenever we're ready to use it in our parfait. While it's still warm, it's also very delicious to snack on. As far as plant-based yogurts go, this one's definitely been my favorite so far. They really nailed the flavor and the texture. And just like other yogurts, it also has all those probiotics. To play off the caramelized flavors of the maple syrup, I wanted to also caramelize these bananas by just sauteing them in a little bit of coconut oil. They get nice and soft and have this really rich flavor. During school, I worked at a cafe and I used to love making parfaits. There was just something about taking the time to build each layer and transforming simple ingredients with just a little bit of care and intention. I try to practice mindful eating, and part of that is paying attention to all the different textures, so the soft banana, the creamy yogurt, and the crispy granola. Paying attention to things like taste and textures and smells while I'm eating has really helped me to stay present in the moment and helped me become more appreciative of everything that's gone in to prepare a meal. There's not much that's more impressive than homemade pastry dough and a fresh quiche. As usual, we're keeping everything plant-based, so to make it taste a little eggy, I'm using this black Himalaya salt, which is called kala namak. It contains sulfur compounds, so it gives it that little eggy flavor, and a little bit goes a long way. To get that eggy texture, I'm using a sprouted or a silken tofu, about 16 ounces of it, and some soy milk. The tofu, the milk, and the spices all go into the blender with a little bit of extra salt and a drizzle of olive oil. I'm gonna leave all the instructions for the recipes down in the description, and while you're down there, if you're enjoying this content, please feel free to like and subscribe. It would really help support my channel. For the fillings in the quiche, I'm using leeks and shiitake mushrooms, which gives it a really nice, meaty, umami flavor, but definitely feel free to get creative with the fillings. In a hot cast iron pan, I'm gonna sweat off the leeks and the mushrooms to get rid of most of that moisture before we put it into the quiche. And that's gonna be an important step for whatever filling you choose. One of the best parts about this recipe is that all the components can be made ahead of time, and then the whole quiche can be pre-baked and then just heated up in the oven for about 20 minutes. To make the crust, I add 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, a bit of salt, and then I shred in some frozen butter. I'm using frozen butter because you want it to be nice and cold so you get those nice flaky layers in the crust. After the butter, I add 1/2 cup of ice cold water and then knead it all together until I can form a nice little round. Then I wrap it up and throw it in the fridge for a few minutes just to relax before rolling it out and putting the dough into the pan and filling in any pieces where it didn't quite get rolled out enough. Then to make it pretty, you can trim off the excess crust and weigh it down with some old grain as a pie weight and pre-bake it for about 10 minutes. As it cooks, you can combine the tofu filling, the veggies, and about 2 cups of vegan mozzarella cheese. Once the quiche is fully assembled, it cooks for about 40 minutes, and then after it's fully cooked, you can actually save it in the fridge and reheat it by just baking it again for another 20 minutes, making you perfectly prepared for your brunch. When it comes out of the oven, the crust will be super crispy and the filling will be creamy and soft and have just the right amount of eggy flavor. These last recipes are going to be for a bunch of savory toppings to make a little bagel bar. I'm going to start by making a garlic and green onion cream cheese using this BioLife cream cheese, which so far has been my favorite one I've tried. And then you just mix everything up and leave it in the fridge until you're ready to use it. For another savory element, I'm going to be making a bacon-inspired tempeh. I start by making a marinade using a little bit of miso paste, some smoked paprika, and a bit of cayenne pepper. The tempeh can sit in the marinade until the morning of brunch when you're ready to fry it up. That morning, I'm going to make a paste out of miso and similar spices with the addition of some garlic powder. And then just mix it up and use it to spread on the rice papers and the tempeh before frying them. You can use some room temperature water to soften up the rice papers, and then use a little brush to brush on that delicious savory paste before filling the tempeh into the middle and rolling it up into a cute little roll. You can brush some more of the miso seasoning on the outside and then go ahead and fry everything in a cast iron pan with just a little bit of oil. The rice papers should get really crispy on both sides and have that crispy bacon texture. By now, everything should be prepared, and the last step is to form your sandwiches and enjoy your beautiful brunch. Thank you all for watching today's video, and I'm feeling pretty inspired to make a follow-up video with some brunch or cafe drink recipes, so if there's any that you'd like to see, please feel free to comment down below, and thanks again for watching.